Good movement is crucial to have in Fortnite. Did you hear what I said? Good movement is crucial. And one thing that a lot of new players have in common is their less than ideal maneuvering. You ever play in Team Rumble or any other more noob-friendly game mode and notice how easy it is to kill players that either just stand still, like no one can see them? It's like, bro, I see you. Well, that terrible movement is a part of why it's so easy.
But what exactly makes movement so good?
Good question, little Bobby. And by the way, that situation is going to be fixed during puberty. Don't worry about that. Well, it can depend on the context. Mostly, it's about moving your character in different ways to make yourself a harder target to hit. But it's also about being able to build without any slowdowns to our character caused by insufficient keybinds. What's going on, guys? That's right, I'm back. This is your guy. That's right, your friend, the one and only Keith Allen. Hey, connect with me as soon as you can on my Instagram. I would love to hear from you. I really, really would. And just to remind you, I'm your #1 fan. Did you forget that? I'm cheering for you. I'm rooting for you. This is going to be the greatest season and the best time of your life. Get ready. Today's video, we're going to be going over some of the ways that you can improve your movement in Fortnite. Key bindings play a large role in being able to consistently move around with no interruption. So we're gonna start by going over some keybind settings. Sorry, controller gang. They're mostly for keyboard and mouse players only, but don't worry, we got you covered in the second half with some general movement tips that all players can use. All right, so don't go anywhere. All right, I love you, I really do. And we may have a video for just controller players coming soon. Don't forget to drop a like, subscribe, and visit ProGuys.com for more on-demand 24 coaching from some of the best players around. We have all new analysis videos and trending articles, so be quick and don't miss out. Click the link in the description. So when it comes to keyboard and mouse binds, having bad or inefficient bindings can really mess with your movement. We move with W, A, S, and D. Most people use their middle finger for W and S, and their index finger for D, and their ring finger for A. If any of those fingers are busy pressing some other key, then you won't be able to move in a corresponding direction immediately, and that slows down your ability to move. Now, don't panic, my friends. We're not saying all non-movement binds should be pressed with only your pinky and thumb. With just how many of them there are, that would start getting pretty awkward and really uncomfortable. Matter of fact, I'm pretty awkward now. Frequently used keybinds, however, are best put on keys that are thumb and pinky fingers pressed. Those two digits aren't used to move around and are perfect for any non-movement binds we press a lot, like building. It's of utmost importance that your building binds do not cause any interruption in your movement, okay? Movement plays a huge role in being able to build fast and effectively. You're gonna be pressing these keys a ton during every build battle, and any slip-ups in the time it takes you to move will cause your builds to suffer.
So, what are the best keys to use for building?
Good question, little Bobby. Well, first and foremost, you should take advantage of your mouse's side buttons if you can. Most gaming mice could come with at least 2 side buttons that can comfortably be pressed with the thumb of your mouse hand. Some have even more than 2, but it depends on the model of the mouse. They won't interrupt your building at all since they're pressed with your mouse, and because of that, many pros like to include either one or both of them in their build binds. But for your keyboard hand, you can use left shift, which your pinky would press, as well as any of the following thumb keys. So like C, V, and B, all which your thumb can rest comfortably beside. Using any combination of your side mouse buttons, left shift, and those keys on the bottom row are optimal and will allow the rest of your fingers to remain on their movement keys. And we probably don't even have to say this since the setting has been out for like a year now, but just in case, make sure that you have sprint by default on. Even if you don't plan on using left shift for anything, it's an amazing quality of life setting that should always be turned on. If we look at Mongrel's keybinds for a quick example, we can see whether or not he follows these conventions. We all know the ridiculous breakneck speeds Mongrel is capable of building at. This guy's a beast. And a significant part of that is due to his bindings, which he always is looking to improve. Right now, he's got his wall on mouse 5, one of the side mouse buttons. His stair piece is on the other one, mouse 4. Then he has his floor on his mouse's DPI switch. I know it says it's bound to endgame, but Mongrel actually uses a mouse with an extra button on the side, which he configures to his floor. His roof is bound to left shift, and his traps are on C. As you can see, Mongrel's setup has him placing 3 different builds with his mouse hand, his roof with his pinky, and his traps with his thumb. He doesn't use his index, middle, or ring fingers. Those stay free for moving. As for the rest of his keybinds, Mongo's adjusted most of them to his preference already. But even with those, he keeps making changes. He's not afraid of using something new to find what he can work best for him. Recently, he swapped his SMG slot from forward to R and did the reverse to his specialty weapon. We don't know his exact reason for the change, but since he definitely swaps to his SMG more often than his specialty weapon, R must be a more comfortable key for him to constantly press. He also changed his reload bind from T to his middle mouse, aka his scroll wheel button, probably because T was a little too far from him. Sure, we know these changes seem insignificant and silly, but they can make a huge difference. And it goes to show you how seriously some pros take their keybinds. Not every pro follows these conventions either. For example, Tfue maps his builds to keys he presses with his movement fingers, keys like Q, E, and R. The main reason he does this is that he prefers his movement to be freed up while editing, which takes over a lot of his binds. It's not a terrible setup, obviously. I mean, it's Tfue, ladies and gentlemen. It's just, theoretically, it might be less optimal, you know? You can argue that having free reign on your movement while building is more important than having it while editing. A player like Mongo agrees with that theory, and it's why he uses those bindings. Oh yeah, and if any of you controller players were wondering if any of these bind rules apply to you, well, they do and they don't. They do in the sense that just like the keyboard and mouse, you want to have fingers readily available for movement. But with a controller, movement is decided almost entirely by one digit on your joystick. And with most controller bind setups, like the ones we suggested in our videos, you won't ever be taking your thumb off of that joystick simply because of their layout. Movement ends up being much more intuitive on a controller. And so you don't have to worry about optimizing your movement as much. All right, guys, now to get into the actual movement tips, having all the right binds in the world won't mean anything if you don't know how to apply them, obviously. And knowing even just a few simple movement tricks can help make all the difference in the world, keeping you alive and helping you to win fights. Let's first discuss extremely close quarter fights. At these ranges, movement can often end up being more important than trying to have the most accurate aim possible. Aiming down sights won't mean much if it allows your opponent to easily land a nasty shot. So if you ever find yourself right next to somebody, like in a house or some other building, it's better to try to have a random and erratic movement, so your opponent won't be able to predict as easily. Strafing left and right while spamming crouch is one of the easier ways to instantly make yourself harder to hit in a close range fight. One piece of advice, my friends, that I'm sure a lot of you guys already know is to not jump in close range scenarios. Newer players tend to do this a whole lot. They think they're like LeBron James or something like that. They just like to jump. They panic when they get up close and end up spamming their jump button non-stop like a crazy person. With how predictable the movement path is when jumping, any good player is going to utilize one of your jumps to line up some very easy shots. Jumping can work if you time it right, but you have to be pretty exact with it. If you manage to jump right before your opponent shoots, you can potentially avoid the shot. But you have to be pretty precise with the timing for this to work out in your favor. So usually, you'll be better off with the crouch, spam, and strafing method. If you're looking for a more advanced movement trick to use in close quarters, like within the same box distance, try moving forward and past the right side of your opponent. This puts you in an awkward and hard to hit position on their screen. Because of how player models are positioned toward the left side of the screen, their own character will actually block their view a little bit, which makes it much harder for them to aim. They have to be able to adjust their aim and track really well if they want to keep their crosshairs on you. At medium ranges, you should still be trying to throw in some crouch and strafing spam while you shoot your rifle or SMG. Moving this way barely has any effect on your accuracy, and when you consider the amount of damage it can prevent, it's very much worth doing. At extremely long distances, you'll often have to rely on first shot accuracy to have a chance at landing shots. Obviously, you can't move or else you'll lose the accuracy, so there really isn't any movement you can incorporate at these distances. You can maybe limit the number of shots you take before repositioning to another shot. But other than that, if you're going to be using first shot accuracy, you usually need to cover yourself and be 100% safe. Even when you're not fighting, it's a good idea to run around unpredictably. Remember, sniper rifles exist, and I hate them. Well, I love them when it's for me, obviously. You could say they're quite powerful. Getting hit by one can really set you back, even if it doesn't even kill you. And so it's better to move proactively and try to avoid them hitting you in the first place. Even if you're just running into the next zone or from house to house, you should never run in a straight or predictable manner. It's almost like getting a sign, holding it up, and saying, "Hey everyone, kill me." That's just asking to get sniped or even beamed by a rifle. Move forward in one direction, okay? Like to the right a bit, then swap it up to the left, and repeat. This doesn't really slow you down, but it makes lining up a shot all that much harder for your opponents. The same thing applies anytime you're gliding. This is so important as ever now that the new grapnel gun has been added to arena and tournament playlists. If you notice yourself getting lasered all the time while gliding, that's probably because you're gliding in a straight line too often. Just by incorporating a bit of randomized strafing while gliding, you know what it's gonna do? You're gonna throw off your opponent's aim enough that you won't be hit anywhere near as much. They'll be constantly having to adjust their crosshairs instead of only having to track you in a straight line. Lastly, let's talk about peeking and cover. It's Fortnite, guys, so you can pretty much always build some sort of cover. But in certain situations, like at the start of the game, you won't be able to build as much, so you have to rely on and use natural cover. So during these situations, it's important to know how to peek. In most cases, a simple right-hand peek, shooting your shotgun, then strafing back is enough. But sometimes your opponent can see you and will be ready to shoot back. This is where you can throw in more fancy techniques such as crouching right when you peek to throw off your opponent's headshot angle. If they're aiming at your head, ready to shoot, crouching is going to throw off their aim. However, a lot of players just aim at the body, and so whether or not you get hit when surprise crouching as you peek can end up being a toss-up. The most important part of right-hand peeking is getting the shot timing down. It's what right-hand peeks are really good for, shooting before your opponent can react. If your right-hand peeks are rusty, or if you've never really used them like you should, it wouldn't do you any harm to hop into a creative island right now and work on practicing and timing. Not like right now, but you know what I mean, like after the video, so that your peeks are effective as possible. Speaking of creative, I'm sure you guys know this by now, but just to reiterate, okay, you should always be practicing your movement whenever you get the chance. Good movement is most important to have while building, so creative is a fantastic way to really learn the positioning and timing you need for different build techniques. Anytime you swap your keybinds up, you should spend extra time training. To make the keybind swap even worth it, you can't have them feeling new or unfamiliar to you. You have to get used to them, or else the changes are going to be for nothing. So if you decide to make changes to your build binds after watching this video, you need to hop into creative and start cranking them out immediately. When you're practicing your aim in creative, make sure to include lots of movement while shooting. Moving while shooting does lead to you having to make extra aim adjustments. Like for example, strafing left means your crosshair is also going to move left, and so you have to adjust it to the right to stay on target. If moving while shooting is new to you, you're definitely gonna have to start thinking about these adjustments as part of your aim. But once you practice it enough, adjusting your crosshair to your movement, it's gonna start to feel second nature. We know that was a lot to take in, so just to summarize, keyboard and mouse players wanna have their binds set in a way that keeps their movement keys ready to be pressed. You most commonly press your build keys, and so those are the ones you wanna map to your non-movement fingers. Side mouse buttons C, V, B, and left shift are all fantastic for build keys. You can use your movement fingers on keys like Q, E, and F, but just know that it might not be optimal. Always try to have unpredictable movement during a fight. A lot of aiming, as you know, is how to react to an enemy movement. If your opponent can't react because you strafe randomly and you throw in crouches, it'll throw off their aim. And as always, make sure to practice, man, as much as you can in creative, especially after changing your settings. Trust me, you need to do that. Hey guys, this is your guy. That's right, your friend, the one and only Keith Allen. And connect with me as soon as you can on my Instagram. I would love to hear from you. This is your season. This is your time to do things you never done before. So get ready. If you decided to make any changes to your keybinds after watching, let us know what you're changing in the comments. And make sure to like and subscribe to see more content just like this right when it gets out. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you soon.